Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's virtual conversation. Countdown to kickoff, what Kansas City businesses can expect on the streets and on the pitch. I'm Erik Bergrud, Senior Vice President of Public Policy here at the KC Chamber and color analyst for the Kansas City Comets. We are now just weeks away from the 2026 FIFA World Cup, one of the largest sporting events on the planet, arriving here in Kansas City. Over the next month, our region will welcome fans, teams, media, and visitors from around the world. And with that comes an atmosphere and energy unlike anything most of us have experienced before. Today's program is designed to help the business community better understand what to expect, not only inside the stadium, but across the city. Whether you are a lifelong soccer supporter or someone who is completely new to the game, our goal is to provide context, perspective, and a preview of what Kansas City will look and feel like during this historic moment. I'm especially pleased to be joined by Dr. Diego Gutiérrez. Diego is a former member of the U.S. men's national team and played professionally during the inaugural season of Major League Soccer. Today, he is a respected soccer analyst, faculty member at Rockhurst University, and part of WTAF TV Fox 4 Kansas City's World Cup coverage team this summer. Few people can speak to both the global significance of this tournament and the local experience here in Kansas City the way Diego can. Diego, thank you for being with us today.
Erik, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
I really appreciate it. Okay, to get us started, we're now just 3+ weeks away from kickoff. Set the scene for us. What will Kansas City feel like when the World Cup arrives?
Well, it's tough to just describe it within only a few minutes of your time, right? But the World Cup is simply put a festival. It's a festival of sport, a truly global sport. It's a festival of culture where you see all colors, all flavors, all of those things converging in those cities that are lucky enough to be able to host. So there'll be a lot of banter, there'll be a lot of fun, a lot of obviously competition amongst countries and their fans, all in a friendly fashion. Imagine, if you will, a Super Bowl, except with all the media attention, all the pageantry, all the passion, all the fervor, all the food, the music, all of it, except 104 times. That's what we're expecting here in Kansas City for the next couple of months.
That's terrific. So give us a quick World Cup 101. How is the tournament structured from group stage through the final?
Yeah, the tournament is 48 teams. It's been expanded. The format itself has been expanded from 32 teams to 48. There are 12 groups of 4 teams. Back in the day, it used to be that two groups, or excuse me, 2 teams out of each group would qualify to make the round of 16. Now, because of the expanded format, we will have the two teams in each group plus 8 third place finishers. So what that means for us, Erik, is that every single play within this tournament matters. Every goal that you score, every goal that you allow, every yellow card, every red card, everything is going to matter to be able to qualify and move on to the round of 32.
So, since you talk about the round of 32, what should people understand about the difference between the opening round group play and the knockout stage in terms of intensity, urgency, and fan behavior?
Well, aside from let's call it the contrast between playing styles, between nationalities, between ethnic makeup, all of that, it seems like every single country has their own style, their own way of playing, right? And that way, that culture, that passion is identified in the way that each team plays. What we see is that we have a massive draw for the event that took place actually back in December. And so the composition of the groups prevents from teams from the same area of the world sort of encountering one another. So what we will see is that we will, for example, we'll find in the U.S. group, we will have teams like the United States, Australia on the other side of the world, Paraguay down in South America, and then you have other teams from different geographies that compose each team. Ideally, what you get then is a situation where you have teams sprinkled from all over the planet that are making that round of 32 and they're advancing then on their soccer tradition.
So, Kansas City will host both group stage matches and 2 knockout games. What makes those knockout matches especially compelling for a host city?
Well, a couple of things. One is that we don't know quite yet who those teams will be. That brings an element of surprise. It brings an element of unpredictability, but it also allows us to have a much bigger approach to what we have right now. What do we have right now? We are prepared for four base team camps. So we have England, Argentina, the Netherlands, and Algeria, who are all staying nearby in the Kansas City Metro. Algeria staying in Lawrence. But when those knockout rounds, as the tournament progresses, when those knockout rounds start to sort of reveal who those teams will be that will be playing here at Arrowhead, it brings an element of surprise and an element, if you will, of we got to open our minds to even more cultures. So it's not just the four or teams that, excuse me, the four games that we're going to have in those base camps. Teams like Tunisia are going to play here. Curacao is going to play here. Ecuador is going to play here. So who knows? We might get four completely new teams that will play here in the round of 32 and subsequently in the round of 16.
But of course, there's a chance we might get the game of the tournament here if all things work out the way that people expect, with Argentina and Portugal matching up two of the most iconic players of their generation, and Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
We would have, in essence, a situation where the eyes of the world are already going to be looking at us. But if that game were to actually come to fruition in Kansas City, you would have the best player to ever play, who's, by the way, will be stationed here with Argentina, playing against probably the second or third best player that has ever played a game in Cristiano Ronaldo. If Argentina and Portugal actually meet in that quarterfinal match, I think it's safe to say that 400, 500, a billion people will have their eyes fixed on that game.
So let's take a moment and go back in the time machine. 30 years ago, you played at Arrowhead Stadium during the inaugural season of Major League Soccer. How does that experience compare to what we should expect when the World Cup comes to the same venue?
Oh man, it couldn't possibly be more different, Eric. 30 years ago, we were trying to introduce and establish a league that from scratch with 10 teams, with soccer entrepreneurs who had a vision that soccer could again be a viable business in the United States. We tried it back in the 30s. We tried it in the 50s. We tried it again in the 70s, quite successfully for a period of time. And then the game went away. It has sort of been the history of soccer. It's been ever present, but not really gained a strong footing as a league. And we've never been able to establish a league that lasts throughout the decades. This now with Major League Soccer, 30 years ago, as you mentioned, we were trying to establish this league. The league has grown leaps and bounds. It's a much different offering. We have 30 clubs now that are now taking part in Major League Soccer. But even then, at the highest level that we have in this country, the World Cup is even better, right? It's even higher. Why? Because you're not representing your city, you're representing your country as a player, one. And two, it will absolutely be the best of the best on the field at Arrowhead come June and July. Um, I'd like to say that I was one of the top players, but not quite. I was right underneath that top level, the national team, absolutely, and for sure is the highest level of soccer possible. So we're in for a treat come June and July.
We've gotten a few tastes of this in recent years in Kansas City with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami playing against Sporting Kansas City at Arrowhead,
Oh yeah,
and then also the U.S. versus Uruguay in Copa America. So
in Copa
the
America,
Kansas
yeah.
Cityans have had a taste, but not the real thing, and the real thing's just about to happen.
And even when you're bringing up a tournament like Copa America, there might be players that have to sit out for injury. What we need to keep in mind, and what we Kansas Cityans need to understand, and people throughout the region, is that this tournament is the type of tournament that people build their careers around. So you prepare, and your highest aim as a professional soccer player is to be able to one day, hopefully, be able to represent your country in the World Cup. That's the dream for pretty much every single player. I'm delighted to see that we're going to have so many national teams with so many quality players at the top of the game. Everything kicking in on full cylinders come June, July at our Arrowhead Stadium in our backyard. I can't describe as a soccer person a better situation.
So let's go back to the stadium again. What will feel different inside the stadium? Crowd energy, style of play, international presence compared to what Kansas Cityans are used to.
Yeah, Eric, what a great question. I can tell you. Let me just address it from a sporting perspective. Back when I was a player, I had a few stints with the national team. I was able to get into some games and many camps. But the difference between the top professional league and the international game, that in essence, your league and the international game, the difference in the speed of play is massive. The international game is fast. You will see the top athletes in soccer at Arrowhead this summer. I would love, like I said, I would love to say that the Major League Soccer is the highest level possible. But what you mean and what you get with your national team is a gathering of the best. In our case, the best American-born or American citizen players representing the white, red, and blue. It's probably the pinnacle of the sport, right? And so to have not only these all of these national teams at our backyard, but to have the best player in the world, it's just going to be absolutely amazing.
All right, so let me take you outside the stadium. What should businesses and residents expect across the city on match days versus non-match days?
That's a great question, also. I think that people are extremely curious about our city. It is a non-traditional American city that hasn't really held a global event of such magnitude. What I see and what I read and what I perceive is that there's a lot of enthusiasm about Kansas City, about our museums, about our barbecue, about our food. I think that what we can anticipate is that people we will be roaming all of those offerings that we have. They're going to be in for the food scene. They're going to be in for the music scene. Obviously, Fan Fest is a big component of that, right in the middle of our city at the World War One Museum and right by Union Station. So I anticipate that we're going to have an influx of visitors. I don't know if there's going to be 650,000, if it'll be 700,000, or if it'll be 600,000. But what I can tell you is not only are we receiving visitors from all over the world, we're going to get people from all over the region, right? So Union Station will be busy, KCI will be busy, buses, cars, you name it. It will be very busy. I know we don't feel it quite yet. We're going, when is this buzz going to come? But we'll anticipate that within the next couple of weeks, you will see a lot of people that are surrounding all of these teams that are staying here, sponsors, dignitaries, things, people of that magnitude will begin arriving in our city here in the next couple of weeks. I anticipate that Kansas City will see a tremendous amount of activity. So I hope that businesses are prepared and ready to welcome the world.
Diego, you were born and raised in South America. How would you describe the passion and culture that fans from that region bring to the World Cup?
You asked me earlier also about the atmosphere in the stadium, right? I'll give you a quick example. Argentina, who's going to be staying here with us at Compass Minerals at the Sporting Kansas City complex, they will be based out of here the entire tournament. Argentina has probably between 20 and 30 songs for their national team. That means that the fans themselves are composing, writing these songs, they proliferate them, they spread them out, and they sing them at the stadium. The environment in the stadium, it's absolutely amazing. The energy, the passion is something that I think will be felt, but it's not only on game day. Argentinians, guys from the Netherlands. I was actually back in 22. I was at the World Cup in Qatar, and I was able to walk the streets of Doha and just absorb all the energy and enthusiasm and passion that all the fans had within that tournament. So it'll be a lot more of the same. It'll be a huge dose of culture. It'll be a huge dose of language. It'll be a huge dose of consumption. And I think that Kansas City will get a great opportunity to be able to absorb it all, to be able to learn from it, and ultimately to really position ourselves from a business and global perspective to transition from a regional city to a global capital worldwide.
So you mentioned a couple of the countries. What are some of the unique ways international fans celebrate before, during, and after matches that might surprise Kansas Cityans?
I think Kansas City should be looking forward to a couple of things. I'm going to give you another example. The Netherlands travels really, really well with their national team. And I'm going to maybe take a step back and understand that the World Cup doesn't happen every year, right? It happens every 4 years. So from a competitive cycle, every single federation, every player within their national teams is sort of gearing and prepared for this one event every 4 years, right? From a business perspective, it happens the same way. Companies, sponsors, federations will arrange their business cycles to be able to attend and to be able to engage and to be able to deploy experiential marketing, activate, if you will, all over the world through those sponsors and through that coverage. What we will see is that it's such a cultural phenomenon that you will have tens of thousands of fans traveling with every team. And with that travel comes the tradition. And so I mentioned the Netherlands. The Netherlands typically brings they have about 20, 30,000 people that typically follow the team. But aside from that, they will march from wherever they gather all the way to the stadium in one single march. They call it a rally. They have a double-decker bus that they follow, and it's simply a tradition every single World Cup. Now, don't get me wrong, it's very difficult to qualify for the World Cup. It just happens that the Netherlands is a really good team that will probably be going very deep in the tournament. So what we have here, by the way, is three teams, England, Argentina, and the Netherlands, who will go very deep in the tournament. So we will have a constant presence for the months of June and July here in Kansas City. Uh, there will be rallies. There will be huge gathering points. I anticipate that a lot of our urban spots will become cultural gathering places. Foreign media will be broadcasting from our parks, from our streets, from our bus stops, from our training facilities. So there will be an incredible amount of activity that I think we will be able to capitalize on in many ways.
So let's talk about a few other teams you didn't mention. What's your outlook for the United States men's national soccer team heading into this World Cup?
Wow. The U.S. has an incredible opportunity at hand. I believe that if if they are able to do to play a good tournament, to put some matches together, for some of our top players to be able to do their best and get us into the knockout rounds, it'll actually inspire a brand new generation of soccer players in this country, both women, men and women. I go back to 1994 and the influence that that team had, a team of mostly amateurs that took on some of the best players in the world, a tournament that gave the birth to Major League Soccer. And look where we are. We were talking about 30 years ago at Arrowhead, and look where we are now. We are hosting again our own World Cup teams. I think that if our U.S. team is able to have a good tournament, um, we will create that inspirational effect again. I think that the team is a good team. It's a very different team from 30 years ago, in that most of our players are playing in top European clubs right now. It's not a question of the quality of our players. It's a question of how our players going to come together come tournament time. So we'll have about 3 or 4 weeks to prepare before our first game. But injuries play a role. The form, right? That the way that players are playing at the moment is probably the biggest question mark. One of our best players, Christian Pulisic, is a player that has been kind of scrutinized and criticized because he hasn't scored lately. I'm not worried about it at all. I think as any goal scorer, he'll get back to his scoring ways once the tournament gets going. I hope that the team does a really good job, is able to top the group, is able to put themselves in the best situation possible come the knockout rounds, and I hope to see him in the round of 16. I think that would be a major win for the U.S. Soccer Federation.
One more country, your country of birth. What should we expect from the Colombia national football team this summer?
Colombia has a good team as well. They're a team that's a little bit more mature, I would say. They have one of the top players in the world right now in Luis Diaz. I've had historic players like James Rodriguez and other great players that were born and have represented Colombia for now 2 or 3 World Cup cycles. I think they have a real legitimate chance. They're in a group with Portugal, so Cristiano Ronaldo will be trying to keep them in second place. Uh, but it could be that that Argentina is actually facing Colombia at Arrowhead and not Portugal, depending on how that group finishes. And so, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, every single goal you allow, everything matters. So those knockout rounds are going to be a treat to see for all of us, hoping that Colombia makes it to that round of 32 and round of 16 as well.
So, are there particular styles of play or players that casual fans should watch for to better appreciate the matches?
Yeah, I think that some of the soccer at the international level, as I mentioned, is so fast, so quick. There are so many different players that we'll have here on our backyard that will probably be names that become household names as the tournament gets going. Obviously, Lionel Messi is the best player who's ever lived. He will be based here, but there are several others. Harry Kane will be based here. Jude Bellingham will be based here. In terms of Algeria, Mir Rajas will be here. And so, there will be a lot of players that will be here in Kansas City that will probably be going on and playing in the latter stages of the tournament. I'm delighted that the Kansas City, especially the casual fan, will be able to see up close and personal a lot of these great players that this tournament will have. By the way, the expansion from 32 to 48 also welcomes some clubs or some countries that typically don't qualify for the World Cup. So we're in for a treat to find out what those teams can bring to the table.
So I referenced earlier what you're going to be doing this summer. You're going to be a key voice locally with WDAF TV Fox 4 Kansas City this summer. What kind of coverage are you planning and how will it help Kansas Cityans connect to the tournament?
Well, we're planning a little bit of everything. So undoubtedly, I'll be talking a little bit about the X's and O's of every game. So, what to expect from each game, what kind of style teams might have, what the likely scenario might be, what to look out for. All those things that provide insight to the viewer will be taken care of. But aside from that, it's also about how we experience the World Cup here as a city. How does the culture get transformed, or how is it enhanced because of all the visitors that we're going to have? How is it impacting our city and our region from an economic perspective? And all of those things we'll be keeping an eye on and our finger on the pulse to be able to report and share and provide some insight to those viewers that are really tuned in into what this tournament is going to be about.
For those of our viewers who don't follow soccer regularly, what are a few simple ways to engage in conversation with visiting fans?
That's a great question. Look, be inquisitive about not only who's going to be here, but these teams that are going, for example, if Algeria is playing here and is playing Argentina in their first match, you'll likely get Algerians from all over the world. Not only Algerians that are based in Kansas City, you'll get, or based in the United States, you'll get Algerians that are all over Europe or all over Africa, right? And so, uh, learn a little bit about the country and be inquisitive about, aside from the Argentina match, who do they play? Who are their main players? And those little bits of conversation, those little bits of information, especially as you start to recognize the jerseys and the colors, I believe will be big little will be good tools to start a conversation, to just to be able to open up with a potential customer or a patron that comes into your establishment. So all of those things matter for sure.
Are there a few phrases, traditions, or storylines that can help someone feel more connected to the global experience?
I think that if you follow the tournament and you're able to identify, for example, we'll figure out very quickly who the favorite teams are and who the minnows, right? The smaller teams, the non-traditional soccer countries that have qualified for this club, what they're about. But I think that as you start to see, if you're a business and you start to see that soccer people are arriving, one of the best questions to answer if you don't know anything about the country that they're coming from is Messi or Ronaldo, right? There's this question. It's almost like LeBron or Jordan, all right? Which one did you think was better or is the better player? That typically starts a conversation and it opens up potential customers to a soccer conversation, which ultimately may need or may turn into some sales conversion. But just understanding a little bit about the tournament and figuring out who some of the top players will be is definitely a door opener for conversation.
So, Diego, I have two more questions for you, but we may have time for one or two from our audience. If anybody has a question, feel free to drop it in the chat, and I'll keep an eye out for that. So, here are my final two questions. Question one, Diego, who's your prediction to win the World Cup and why?
Ooh, okay. My prediction is probably going to be Spain. Spain is a team that dominated the Euros. The only team that came close to them was France. And by the way, France also has a roster that they could probably field 4 or 5 different teams and still compete and do well in the World Cup. They are so deep, so talented. But I ultimately think that Spain's style, the way that they keep the ball, they let you have very little of the ball. I think their style, the organization defensively, and certainly the weapons that they have up top to be able to create danger, create opportunities to score. They're probably the top contenders. They're going to be my candidates to win it all. I would have said Argentina otherwise, except what I saw from Argentina and Messi and Doha was such a case of alignment of the stars and inspiration, and a player really gaining or earning a trophy that he really deserved. Such a great story. I'm not sure that can actually happen again, but you never know. Great players do great things. But I'm going to
Okay,
go ahead and say Spain.
I agree with that. We'll come back later in August and we'll review if that worked or not. So here's my final question for you, Diego. What would a successful World Cup look like for Kansas City when we look back a year from now?
I think that that's the question that we all want answers for, right? I'm not sure, Eric, that we're gonna have. I think we're gonna have some quick answers in terms of the metrics, consumption, things of that nature. Yeah, hotel bookings or Airbnb, things of that nature. We'll have some readings and we'll have a good understanding on the immediate the immediate effect of the tournament. However, I think that from an economic perspective, from a cultural perspective, I believe that it's going to take us a little bit longer to figure out what the real effect will be, right? I think that the real effect manifests itself in many other ways. I think that that transformation between becoming or going from a local and regional city into a more global city, an established destination. I think that a World Cup goes a long way towards that. So I think that we will see a lot of development, a lot of industry that will be inquisitive about opportunities in Kansas City, especially. And by the way, I've been saying this for 25 years, Eric. I've always felt that Kansas City kind of fell short in leveraging the geographic position that it had in terms of being able to be right in the middle of the country and logistically being an asset towards all kinds of different businesses. I think that slowly after the World Cup, we will begin to see a lot of traction in that regard. How did we get here? Well, here's what we will need again in the future. We got the World Cup because we had a perfect alignment between sports entrepreneurs, the interests of the public, and good leadership, right? And so all those partnerships aligned to create an infrastructure that then allowed us to be candidates to now bring the biggest party on earth here to our backyard. I think those opportunities will happen again, not necessarily in a way of a World Cup, but conventions, larger gatherings, you know, uh, big opportunities to bring business here that will happen year after year. So I think that our real impact will probably be best understood probably 5 years from now. But we will definitely see some of those symptoms, some of those, some of the results of the immediate result within that year. I think that Kansas City is here to stay. I've always been very bold and very bullish about what I think about Kansas City in terms of the ability to grow and the many assets that at times we don't even realize we have. So I would say we will be in a much better place to understand the impact of the World Cup probably 5 to 10 years from now.
Well, Diego, we promised a quick pace 30-minute presentation, and we're at 30 minutes. So thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you on Fox 4 this summer. I'm sure I will see you around town. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. We're here at Union Station. We're going to be in the middle of everything here this summer. Come on by. And everybody, I hope that you'll feel what Diego feels. It's going to be an amazing summer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.